Perfect. What's up, tribe? So today's video, we are going to take a look at a surfboard that a pretty small girl was surfing, about 108-pound girl. Pretty big board. She loves the board. She catches tons of waves, but like a lot of intermediate surfers, they start to want to go down smaller. And we always say you should learn on a bigger board and then work your way down as you improve. So in today's video, I want to get Andy to give us some insight on how he designed this step down board, where you hear a lot about step up boards, but for a lot of beginner and intermediates, they want to actually slowly step down and maybe not just drastically go from like a 9-foot foamy down to like a, you know, a 6.0 high performance board, but we work our way down. So give me your insight, tell us what's happening.
Well, we definitely had to collaborate a lot and sort of make some tough decisions, right? Remember, because she damaged the board. You guys brought the board to me and she damaged the board and was heartbroken because she loves this board.
Yeah.
and then it was sort of like she didn't want to go too far away from this, remember? You know, and she was talking about you know, maybe 6'4". I think she wanted to step down a couple inches.
The dimensions of this board, it's a 6'7", right?
Yeah.
It says 6'6", but it's actually
I measured it 6'7".
And it's like 21 inches wide. It's a beast.
But then she started riding some of your boards, and then she realized she can go smaller. She went down to even like 6'1", but we decided on 6'3", but with like a very similar shape to the board she was riding. But there's huge differences. I mean, we're talking there's major differences. Even though they look kind of like, it looks like a shrunken version of this board, but there's some very key changes that are like night and day different, like especially the rails, because these rails, like when you guys brought this board to me, I'm just like, oh my gosh, I can't believe she's riding this thick and boxy. This is what you call a classic boxy, like 80s rail. Like 80s, we used to ride like very thick rails. They just didn't have a lot of tuck underneath, and they were kind of square, almost square. They're just rounded square, you know, rails. But so yeah, that's definitely, the rails are completely different. Like even down here, look at that. It's completely boxy down here. So I don't know how she liked this board so much, because she's completely in love with it. But I mean,
hot waves, and she could just kind of flow down the line. Not any heavy, like sharp turns, but she always said she wished she could turn a little bit more, have a little bit more control over like carbon.
Yeah, this is going to be like just night and day improvement for her, and it might even at first be like, wow, like she's going to go so fast on it, but it's going to have control because I built in lots of things that create control, even though it's, you know, just a lot less volume than she's used to, and there's speed components, like the concaves are deeper on this board. But you can see it's generally like, looks like a shrunken down version. Like the outline, we went with the same pintail, but as you can see, if you focus in on that tail and then you compare it to that tail, they're the same round tail, but this is a lot more like what we call pulled in here. You can see it's kind of got a little bit of...
yeah, I can see that.
Yeah,
totally.
Yeah, because she doesn't need that much width.
Has a little bit of a squarish to it.
Yeah, we almost called this a thumb tail, because if we flip it and get a better view of the tail, it almost looks kind of like, you know, it's a classic kind of thumb tail. Yeah. Whereas then this one is kind of more of a, like a rounded pin. You know, it's not quite pintail where it's pointy, but it's got some roundness to it, but it's pulled in. So you can definitely see the two.
What are the measurement differences? 6'7" to 6'3".
6'3".
What width?
The width on this one is 20, whereas this one was in that, like, I think this one was up to like 22, 20, where was it? Oh, here it is, 21 and a half. So we went a whole inch and a half narrower.
Inch and a half less?
Yeah,
wow.
Yeah, and we went from 2 3/4 to 2 1/2. So there's a 1/4 inch less thickness at the very center here. But the rails are a lot more refined for her too, because she's light. I mean, how much? She's got to weigh about 100 pounds.
$1.7, $1.8.
Yeah, so she's, you know, but there's some hidden volume. What we call hidden volume in a surfboard is, well, the rails feel kind of like a shortboard rail, but up in here, up in the center, carrying through down here, there's some hidden volume, hidden foam in there that kind of will help her paddle well. But then the rail's kind of refined, and you can see how it's kind of thins out up right here on the top pretty good. Compared to, like, if you look at this, like you see all the foam in the tail. Like compare that when you zoom in on the tail here, you can see so much more thickness.
Yeah, this board's gonna feel.
I was confident
she's actually surfing a shorter board right now, so this will be nice to go back up. But You know, she went from her board to a much smaller board, which she's struggling a little bit. So now she'll be able to go back up to the new board,
right?
And get that feeling of catching waves easier, but not have to go all the way back up to the big, huge board.
Well, how much volume is the board she's riding right now? Do you know?
Probably like 32 liters, maybe.
32, yeah. 32, yeah. Well, this board's probably going to be right in there too. Yeah, she's going to catch lots of waves on this board. And this one's got like just a nice, clean, single concave going through.
It might be like 30 liters. I'm not sure. I don't know. It doesn't say on the board.
Yeah. But you know, everything's kind of like sort of conservative, even though it looks very racy. It's like the rocker I put on it is pretty medium, what we say medium. It's not too curvy and it's not very flat either. It's not, you know, it's not one way or the other. It's going to be very user friendly for her. Because Hermosa, where you guys surf, it's a very, there's a lot of different faces to that wave. It breaks, you know, there's steep, real steep hollow days, and then there's kind of mushy high tide or like rolly waves. So kind of, it's going to be a good all arounder. I try to do that on all the boards I make, where it's like there's not too much extreme any one way or the other with like the rocker or the concaves or the widths. I try not to like have what they call breaks in the shape, like no hips. I mean, unless you're creating like a pronounced hip, but everything like in the outlines are just really smooth, you know, and clean lines. And like I said, like the rockers, it's just a nice, you can see there's some nice curve in it, but if we measure the rocker, it's going to be kind of in a happy medium of what's a lot of rocker and what's flat rocker.
Cool, let's go into the extended version. So guys, if you don't know, we have a membership site that we're building. So when we do videos like this, we're going to go into extended version mode where we talk a little bit more in depth on a lot of different things. Just to go deeper, for those that want to go deeper, you go to isurftribe.com and just drop your email and learn about it. You can always join us. But anyways, we're going to talk a little bit more about, you know, how do you design a board for somebody that wants to, you know, what are the best practices to go down to a board when somebody's saying, I want to go smaller, but I don't want to like all of a sudden have no success. Right. How do I start shrinking it down? What are some things I should be looking for or doing? So, well, let's go into that.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, the main thing is when you shrink it down,